I've heard some say there is no way our country would do what is called a bail-in. Well, we also thought 20 years ago we would have never imagined that we would experience as a country a 9/11. If somebody told us a year ago there is going to be a virus that would completely shut down the whole world and the United States would lose 33 million jobs in less than a month, you would have thought that person is crazy for saying such a thing. If you were heard these prior to their events happening, from certain people, you might have labeled them crazy, far-fetched, maybe even a doomsdayer. Yet they all did happen, unfortunately. And yet, multiple laws and entities have been set up in the United States to seize a portion of your hard-earned money. I don't know if it's a main plan or a backup plan. I'll let you decide. Whichever, what we do know, it is called a bail-in. And in the United States, that is what we're going to talk about today. To understand a bail-in, let's first talk about a bailout. If you remember back in 2008, we bailed out Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, General Motors, and AIG. In other words, they didn't have enough money to survive, and if we wouldn't have bailed them out, the theory was mortgages and real estate would have collapsed even worse. We want to help General Motors to keep America working, the heartbeat of America, you know. Many ask the question, but why AIG? Well, there's a subsidiary company in AIG called VALIC, Variable Annuity Life Insurance Company. They're the underwriters for all annuitant plans, and it was thought at the time if AIG went under, VALIC would have gone under, and if VALIC would have gone under, all annuities might just become possibly worthless pieces of paper. So the government came to the rescue and bailed out Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, General Motors, and AIG, and they paid back the country, the government, over time. But my question is this. If the United States or a massive amount of our banks got in trouble once again, who's going to bail us out? The answer is quite simple. There is no entity big enough to bail out the United States. And that is the reason why a law was passed in 2010 called the Dodd-Frank Act. It was the largest piece of legislation at the time, and you'll be surprised, shocked, and disturbed that the heartbeat of it actually changed the legal ownership of your money. Your money is no longer legally yours. It's now the government's. You'll kind of say, what? That's what I said when I first started studying it. To understand the simplicity of this, and we should be no longer be unaware of it because we were forewarned by our own government, you can go to the government website, fdic.gov. They wrote a white paper in 2010 with the Bank of England. It's an 18-page white paper. Google it. Type in FDIC Bank of England white paper and look for the fdic.gov website. Or you can just type in the title of the white paper, which is Resolving Globally Active, Systemically Important Financial Institutions. Brings you the same website, fdic.gov. Go to the second page, look under the executive summary, the third paragraph. This summarizes the whole thing. Here's what it says. In the U.S., the strategy has been developed in the context of the powers provided by the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010. Such a strategy would apply a single receivership at the top-tier holding company, assign losses to shareholders and unsecured creditors of the holding company, and transfer sound operating subsidiaries to a new solvent entity or entities. So the term a bail-in is listed in this report actually 9 times in this 18-page report. But let's go back for a second and let's dissect this. This is a strategy by the law that was passed, the Consumer Protection Act, and what they would do is assign losses to you, the shareholder. In other words, if you're wondering, can they assign losses to a stock? Well, if you own a stock, you're a shareholder. An unsecured creditor, that's money in the bank. Then what they would do is transfer that money to a subsidiary, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and then it would transfer sound operating subsidiary to a new solvent entity or entities. It goes to the Treasury. Let's put this all together, because it's not just the government that talked about this. Fox News did an in-depth report about it, this so-called Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. Here's what Fox News said about it. It has boundless authority to interfere in nearly any consumer financial transaction and product anywhere in the economy. Let's stop right there. So in other words, they can mess and seize a portion of your money, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, treasuries, cash in the bank, savings, checking, you name it, any electronic asset, a product anywhere in the economy is what they say. Reading on, and to do so without any accountability to the American people. Its director cannot be removed even by the president, absent of direction of duty. Its budget does not come from Congress through its annual appropriations process, but directly from the Federal Reserve, where it's formerly housed. But the Federal Reserve itself is prohibited from exercising any oversight over the CFPB. The result? An agency that could, on its own whim, regardless of the wishes of American people and their elected representatives, begin regulating retirement accounts. So in other words, nothing is safe. In 2013, the International Monetary Fund also wrote a white paper on this. It's much bigger, 107 pages, in an article called Taxing Times. You can look online for yourself. Turn to page 49. They describe the bail-in as a wealth tax or a one-off capital levy. Those are synonymous terms for a bail-in. Here's what they say on page 49. Quote, the sharp deterioration of public finances in many countries has revived interest in a capital levy or a one-off tax on private wealth as an exceptional measure to restore debt sustainability. The appeal is that such a tax, if implemented before avoidance is possible, and there's a belief that it will never be repeated. The conditions for success are strong, but also need to be weighed against risk of the alternatives, which include repatriating public debt or inflating it away. Now, shortly after that, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article titled, quote, The Coming Global Wealth Tax, end quote. An interpretation of the wealth tax is what is called a bail-in for America. They say in the Wall Street Journal that the bail-in for America would be 56 to 71%. So they're saying, the IMF is saying, if we do this just once, we do it the right way, before we're forced to do it, it's not going to alter behavior, and we only need to do it one time. This is the fix that they're saying that's quite simple for a debt situation. So either do it ahead of time, or do a default, or inflate your way out of the problem, or do what this is called a bail-in. But they're saying if any of these were implemented, this would fix the problem. Now think for a second. If any one of these three things were done, defaulting, inflating, or bailing in, gold would probably move up significantly. Well, in the 70s we had inflation, and that was the environment with double digits. Gold was the number one asset class then. It moved up 959%, while the Dow during the same period of time moved up 9%. We have no historical data that if our country defaulted, because we never have, but I'm going to assume if we did, it'd be horrendous, first of all, and gold would probably make some even greater moves. If the bail-in happened, I would make the assumption that gold would probably move up, but I think the biggest thing, that if you had gold in your portfolio before the bail-in, because bail-ins are done electronically, not physical assets, you would be safe. So look at this as this way. And I'm not anti-stocks or anti-money in the bank or any of that. But bail-ins, all of them have been done electronically, and gold is the safe asset against a bail-in, inflation, or default. That's why it's imperative to get some physical gold in your portfolio. I'd rather be 2 years too early than 2 days too late. So I want to say thank you for listening in today. And if you like what you heard in this video, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the bell alert so you can be alerted for the next upcoming video. But if you want more written information and more in-depth details on a bail-in, I wrote a white paper a few years ago. It's free. There's no catch or pressure or anything of that. But the demand's been so high, it's been revised. It's now in its 7th edition. You can call my company. You see the phone number on the screen, or 602-287-9200 to get your free copy. The white paper called The Coming Bail-In. But remember, if you take care of your money now, it will be there to take care of you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm David Fisher, CEO of Land